Thank you for joining me today. I'm here with Hannah Soyars, who's the member and creator of the Peace Alliance here at Emory Henry, a newly founded group here at Emory Henry College to promote peace. Thank you for joining me today.
No problem.
Okay, why are you committed to this cause, and why did you start the Peace Alliance here on campus?
Well, I'm a sophomore here, and last year I do never recall from my upperclassmen friends or myself ever seeing so many incidents of discrimination and violence and just upsetment from the Emory and Henry community. And I figured with an alliance from other organizations who really have concerns about the community in that program, in that area, that we that something needed to be done, and that was to make it stop, or at least attempt to.
Okay. What were some of those incidences you were talking about? You know, you said that there were some, and I know that there were some in the news, and obviously some happened we might have covered here on TV, but what were some of the ones that really sparked your, anger at the situation here on campus?
My largest ones had to be would be the PP and Tom incidents in Wiley Jackson, and the when it was coming out day that was sponsored by Rainbow Connection. We saw a concern from the GLBTQ community here at Emory, where they were being discriminated against, when their flyers were going down in the past years and in this year, and people who are openly gay were getting the posters with very horrible things written on them under their doors, and it was in their face and in wherever have you, and it was hurtful to see that, and to know that they're the most discriminated out of all of them.
So you started this alliance to promote peace on campus. So what you want to see those events change, and what do you want to see change exactly here on campus, or even in the country, or even in the world?
Well, the goal of the Emory and Henry Peace Alliance is to promote with other organizations an alliance that will stop or prevent any discrimination towards anyone of gender, sexual orientation, race, religion, political views, etc., etc. And then nationally, we are recognized with the National Peace Alliance out of Washington, D.C., and from there we work with them with peace-building skills and a program called Challenge, which is to help bring the community together in very peaceful environments, and just a bunch of unity and good feelings here on the campus.
Well, I understand you're talking about good feelings, but do you really think that it's realistic to believe that people could actually get along? I mean, it tends to be that people respond originally with anger. They're not always logical, and, how is it that you're going to try and change people's reactions? I just, sometimes it seems to other people that it might not be ideal.
Well, there's a number of many things that we do. The first thing that we do is we do ask people who do want the peace, and we've seen a pattern from all the hall programs that have happened in Hillman and places like that, that the people who want change are usually the ones that come, and the people who are doing it or don't want the change don't come. And so one of the things that we do look for is for those people to, when they hear it, and if it's coming from their friends and stuff, is to say something about it. And another thing that, especially the officers of the Peace Alliance, what we do is when we see this sort of stuff, or when we see that somebody's angry towards something, one of the other organizations that we have an alliance with is Peace Educators, and we take them to the Peace Educators and actually get them talking to them as well.
Okay, some of our viewers may not exactly know what happened in Hillman. Did you want to highlight those events really, really quickly, and just, what exactly happened and why did that spark interest?
I can say one of the brief things that happened in Hillman was definitely there was some discrimination predominantly towards race. And things were being taped on doors and shoved under doors, and it was very uncalled for things, I think, from young adults who are here for an education predominantly. And
okay. How is your small group trying to change something? Like you said you have about 17 members. Do you have global goals? Do you have national goals? Or are you just trying to focus on the campus in general?
Well, as of right now, we are focusing just locally in the Emory Henry community. Our biggest thing right now is we have always had very public meetings. We don't ever ask anyone to be a member unless their organization or they as a person are very drive towards the purpose of the organization. And we usually always have music playing. We either have live music or we have music from like the computer and stuff, and it's all very good music. Sadly, it all goes to Bob Dylan and things like that. But it was things back then in the 60s that you see what people were trying to do, and you bring it forward to now. And the other thing that we're doing is we 3 of our officers, including myself, are planning to go to Washington, D.C. in March for the National Peace Alliance Conference. And we're all sophomores, so we hope to bring a lot of information back here and use it and hopefully expand a lot. And one of the things we would get to do at the conference is we would get to talk to soon-to-be Senator Mark Warner and meet with him and tell him things that are going on, not only on like campuses, and it could go back as far as like Virginia Tech and things like that, but things that are even happening locally through peers.
Okay, so you do have larger goals than just the campus. You're trying to really get involved.
Of course, but you always have to start small and work your way up, and I think the biggest thing we can do is get the cooperation of the whole community.
All right, let's talk a little bit about you and your ideals. Do you believe that, is it anti-peace to talk bad about somebody? Is it anti-peace to, not necessarily not actually act something out, but is it, bullying and, gossip, all that stuff? Do you consider that anti-peace?
Of course, we always have our case of bullying and drama. Here we are, we all live together, and that's bound to happen. But I definitely think it crosses the line of what peaceful situations is when you can't work it out, when it gets too out of control, and especially when it's discriminating a person for something that they cannot change, which could be their political, religious, race, gender, sexual orientation.
So even though you don't necessarily believe that bullying and that stuff is, I actually do believe that, bullying and gossip is. Do you all talk about that stuff, or do you mainly focus on the discrimination? Because sometimes discrimination can come in the form of gossip and stuff like that. Do you do anything against that, or?
Well, it all depends on what can be done. And that stuff happens every day, from like just dorm room activity, roommates, sports teams just, giving each other a hard time. And you don't know when to intervene and to push that line. But when it's happening to somebody, when it's to the lines where they feel unsafe living in their own dorm building, I think that's when there's an intervention in need.
Definitely. I understand that completely. Just to close out a little bit, why do you think that people can't live peacefully? Why do you think that people are always at each other's throats and always responding to each other with anger? Why, in your opinion?
Well, I know that in today's society, we always have to be the better person, the larger person in a sort of sense, and to belittle somebody is the best way to make yourself seem bigger. And you can't say that it's not going to stop, and you can't say that it's going to get better, it's going to get worse. It all just deals with what you're doing yourself to make things better in your environment, what you're doing in your community to make it better, and how you perceive things. Because if you don't feel safe, eventually the people around you won't seem safe to you, and it's just going to, it's going to become a big ball.